Thank you so much, Bruce. Mayor Wright, each and every one of you here, and Joel, thanks so much. Before I begin the formal part of my remarks tonight, I would like to say that I have had the opportunity to speak before hundreds of groups and MC and actually be a speaker for those organizations throughout my career. And never, ever in my professional career have I been so excited to be the most insignificant person at a head table than I am tonight. You know, I honestly can only imagine what it looks like from your viewpoint out there. Because let me tell you how I'm sizing it up here. I got NBA champ, I got World Series champ, I got a coach right here who won nearly 900 games in high school with a community of only 20,000 citizens to draw his teams from. I got a man that sent 400 kids to college from his basketball coaching. I've got a two-time Olympic gold medalist. And then I've got me. Now I want to put this in perspective. I was hired into the TV profession without 1 day of television experience. And I spent the next quarter of a century basically wearing more makeup than my wife. That is me. But honestly, it is truly, seriously, a humbling and satisfying experience for me to be here. That is the way I describe this to anyone who has asked. Because I just cannot imagine anything professionally meaning more to me than this. In my line of work, those who worked with me and the friends that I've had over the years, what we always tried to do was very simple. Treat people with respect. Treat them the way you want to be treated. Always go out into the communities and never emphasize a larger school over a smaller school. Always make them feel important. Never self-promote. And we never entered any of our work in statewide contests. So for me to be standing here tonight is absolutely amazing for a kid who grew up in Stanton, Virginia. This Hall of Fame, as Joel said, and the museum is fabulous. It is one of the greatest attractions for tourism in this state. But the first time I met Eddie Webb was 20 years ago when this was a pipe dream. Charlie Moyer gave me a call and said, could you have lunch with Eddie Webb? And I wasn't even sure who Eddie was at the time. Of course I knew who his dad was. But I had lunch and Eddie explained how they were going to go from a little small building with great church-like ceilings in it, and they were going to move to this big state-of-the-art facility and one day even have satellite museums across the state in places like the Salem Civic Center. And I really walked out of there thinking, honestly, if I could just go through my career and help the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame be noted in Southwest Virginia, that would be my contribution. So you can understand the shock and dismay when I was actually told that I was being inducted into this great hall. I want to thank, first off, my family, especially my wife and my son and daughter are here tonight, along with my son-in-law, my stepdad, my in-laws, my great sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and some great friends. But my family especially I want to thank, and especially I want to bring it back to my wife and kids, because when you're in a position in the media, as Bruce can tell you, and all these athletes can tell you, you work mainly nights and weekends. And she really did all the heavy lifting of raising kids, because the nighttime is the hard part. And my wife and I have been married nearly 31 years. Sharon, I love you and I appreciate all you did. I had a really good feeling my family was going to be here tonight because I paid for the table. But there is another table here tonight that was a complete surprise to me. And as I told you, I got hired into TV without 1 day of television experience. And the man who hired me for that job is here tonight. His name is Jim Shaver. He was the news director at WDBJ-TV at the time. He was from Floyd County. I was from Stanton. Never forget the first week I'm on the job, he calls me in the office. He says, Mike, I want to ask you a question. When you go out and cover sports, do you understand in these communities you are never covering two teams? I had no clue what this guy's talking about. So I answered honestly and I said, I do not. He said, you never cover just the teams. It's about the communities. I want to see the cheerleaders. I want to see the bands. I want to see the coaches, the guys selling the hot dogs, giving out the programs. On Friday night, just like the church on Sunday morning, the mayor and the janitor are all the same. When they put the sweatshirt on with their school colors and they cheer, they're all cheering for the same thing, and everyone is on equal footing. And so my entire time there, I tried to honor his request and treat these communities and these games as community affairs. As a result, we did everything that the consultants tell you not to do, and we made sports important. People cannot believe it when I tell them there were nights where I had 7, 8, 9 minutes of time to do sports in a newscast. Don't fall out of your chair. That's unheard of. But we understood that highlighting these communities brought these athletes and their families to the forefront and gave us viewers. How many viewers? I want to give you this stat because I think it's important because we're way out there in Southwest Virginia. There was a time in the mid to late 90s, WDBJ 7 6 o'clock newscasts had more viewers than the other 3 stations combined. But of a greater fact is that we were the most watched newscast in the entire state of Virginia. Think of the population disparity that Roanoke faces compared to Richmond and Tidewater. Yet because we highlighted those communities and made those kids important, that's where we were. We also benefited, and I know I did, from one small thing. I was in at a time before ESPN was dominant. We were at a time when people actually came to us wanting sports news, especially if it was local or regional. And I'm going to give you a great example of that. One of the guys who is here tonight is a photographer named Scott Ayers. And he and I work together on so many projects, it's unbelievable, especially involving high school, college football, and the Washington Redskins. Every year we'd be at training camp with the Redskins. And in 1991, it got real interesting for us. Joe Gibbs decides to announce that he's not only going to coach, he's getting into racing. He's going into NASCAR. And at the time, ESPN's NASCAR coverage was there, but it wasn't anything over the top. So we get a call, could you please do an interview with Joe Gibbs and put together a story for us for the network? And we're like, absolutely, we're in. No problem. So the Redskins media staff sets it up, and on the loading dock of the dining hall at Dickinson College, Joe Gibbs enters NASCAR with his first interview with WDBJ 7, the little station out of Roanoke. I think we got a $150 check as a station for doing that work. But they respected us, they knew we'd get the job done for them, and we had a great relationship with Coach Gibbs, and it was a great interview and easy work. Another person that's here tonight is a gentleman named Mark Brown. He was basically ahead of his time. He's an attorney now in Knoxville. He was producing that half-hour football show when he was 17 years old and a high school student. He was thinking up ideas that ESPN used decades later. He worked with me as an intern, did all types of things with me other than football. And this goes into one of the final things I want to tell you is it goes back to relationships. Whether it's Joe Gibbs or Del Curry. Del Curry is the one athlete who I defined my entire career with. We were students together at Tech. He was the first person I covered seriously, and we remain friends to this day. When the expansion draft came around and Del Curry was selected by the Charlotte Hornets, there was no such thing as a cell phone back then. I tracked Del down by first calling his wife's parents who lived in Radford, Virginia. Find out that Del is working out at the Waynesboro YMCA that night. Call the front desk at the Waynesboro YMCA. They find Del. He says, if you can be here in 2 hours, I'll wait. He waits in the parking lot. We interview him and have enough time to hit the Metamuffin and Stuart Strap on the way home. That's a big night. But it's those relationships that have made it so great for me. And to stand here as the first television person to go into this Hall of Fame means a great deal for this reason. When Bruce and I began working in TV sports, newspaper and print people did not have a lot of respect for us. Now you can cut on ESPN and they have the sports reporters, and all the guys on there are basically newspaper guys. They want to be on TV. They want to have a radio show. Not so back then. They thought we were way below them. The day that I earned the respect of people like Bill Brill, Jack Bogacic, Bob McClellan, legends at the Roanoke Times, and people around the state like Bill Millsaps, people that would come up and speak to me at events I was covering, and especially those in Roanoke who knew that competitively I had a shot to break a story that they didn't. I knew then that they were looking at me as an equal. And that's the day that it changed for me. When this was made public, I received so many great notes, thank yous, calls. The best one came from Coach Frank Beamer. I was in Blacksburg when Coach arrived and went 2-8-1 and almost lost his job. And basically the gist of the note was very simple. The entire time that we worked with each other, he said, I can always trust you. It wasn't that what I had to do was what he wanted to see on TV all the time, but he always knew that I was going to be fair. When J.C. Snead won his last golf tournament on the PGA Tour, he trusted me so much he invited me to the farm. We rode around on his pickup truck for 2 hours before we even did an interview. Everyone in this Hall of Fame is someone I've either idolized or someone who has helped me and allowed me to share what their life is all about by reporting on it. I cannot tell you what this honor means to me. It will sink in soon, I hope. But I thank each and every one of you for being here and tolerating Mr. Insignificant. And I really do appreciate everything. God bless every one of you.